Welcome, 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 everybody. My name is April, and my spirits and I together, we are called Ostre Astoundance. Thank you for tuning into the Conspiracies podcast. This is the episode, pretty much an interview with JFK. A lot of people were asking about this particular individual. And what's really interesting is in the last few months, I've been posting, just pulling a daily oracle card on my Instagram and dropping it off on TikTok just to kind of give people a little message from spirit. And every time I do a quick film, I keep looking at this coin, and it's a gold coin I had found in my bag of crystals, and it has a JFK head on it, on the head of the coin. And I was like, is this a sign? And I just wanted to bring this up because at the top of the year for 2024, or excuse me, 2023, I apologize. I kept hearing the name Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. And I thought it was interesting that Spirit was showing me a visual of the two Kennedy brothers in the White House, but in this time, not back in the 60s and the 50s or whatever. And I was like, what are they doing there? And I was kind of getting this vision of one brother was standing back with his arms crossed, kind of looking off to the side, and JFK was looking through some papers, and they're looking at each other with this look of like a little bit of kind of worry or concern. But at the same time, they had this very content look of how can we help? How may we serve? So they're actually in the atmosphere at the White House. But little did I know at the top of the year in 2023 that Bobby Kennedy's son decided, or was, when did he announce that he was going to run as a candidate for the next presidency? I don't know when it was, but I didn't know this at the time. And I was like, and then a second time I posted something in a prediction. I was like, I think we're going to have a Kennedy in the White House. I don't know, like a descendant of the Kennedys. And sure enough, he announced at some point, again, I don't know when, and he had said that he's going to try to run. And so, anyhow, I've been thinking about JFK a lot. And I was like, you know, what are the odds of me actually like sitting down and doing a spirit interview, with him? And so I asked my spirits today, are we good to go to proceed with this interview with him? And the answer is yes. So what's interesting is we were all sitting here right before we started recording, and there was like a cool breeze that like kind of blew by, and we can kind of get a sense that he's standing in a certain place in the room. And then he asked for a chair. So we got a chair for him right here with a microphone. So this is kind of an interesting interview. I've never done anything like this before, but so it is. Anyhow, a couple of things I want to talk about without shuffling or getting into tarot, and just authentically just sit down at what I was picking up on right before we started recording. And so one of the things that he's very interested in speaking about is the elections. That was something that he felt very inclined to talk about. It's a huge interest for him. He also brought up his wife, Jacqueline. He says, despite what has been said about me and despite what has been said about certain things, he saw, I really truly love my wife. And he says, please don't ask me about Marilyn Monroe. So I'm just going to honor that. We all know what that's about. But I said, no problem. So I just wanted to share with you what kind of happened right before this recording. He also is interested in speaking about the way the voting has been going and how the voting isn't exactly as, full of integrity as we would hope or like to think. And he's very upset with the division in the United States. This is something that is a great concern for him. And that was something that he was talking about. He used the word, what did he say?
There's an issue with the republic.
He says there's an issue with, quote unquote, the republic. So I asked my co-host here to like look up the word. So, and again, you guys don't overthink this, don't underthink it, just to meet the message halfway. Of course, his verbiage is a little more different than some of the things that we speak about to this day. But he's very well spoken from the information that is coming through. I do believe Bobby Kennedy is around, not in this moment, but I do know that he's in fact here. So
He did want to speak on the U.S. dollar too.
he did.
He brought that up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about the U.S. dollar, the currency, and what's kind of going on. I know that his nephew, which is RFK Jr., is actually running for the next presidency, but he chose to go independent, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had to switch over.
And what was his reasoning?
The Democratic Party really wasn't letting him in. Like the DNC didn't want him involved, so they're pushing him out.
And from what he stated publicly, it was on his Instagram that they denied him protection.
Yes.
And I think
Secret
they're
Service protection.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first time in history a candidate that's running for presidency was ever denied protection, which is pretty, that's pretty sad. Um, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't someone sneak into his house or
I think he's had
something?
2 attempts of people trying to get near him with guns. I can't
Yeah,
say
he
they're
spoke.
assassination attempts, but I
Mhm.
can say that they were that.
And he spoke about it publicly.
Like there were people
Publicly.
that encroached in his house, like on his property, and
Hmm.
then one when he was doing a speech. Both of the times they were both armed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those that have been following and listening, thank you to the Conspiracies podcast. I did speak right at the beginning of the year about a Capricorn or an Earth sign that may have some problems. They have to be very careful. Like there could be somebody that may try to hurt him. Um, and I do know that RFK Jr. Is a Capricorn, but we also know, I think at the time that we did the recording, we were looking at DeSantis. He's a Virgo. He's also an Earth sign. But as we kind of nestled through it with Spirit was like, no, we're talking about this person. That's the Capricorn. That's RFK Jr. So, anyhow, I'm going to kind of get into a little bit of this and see what kind of information, what else he wants to talk about. Um, I do know that when I looked at JFK's chart, I was interested in astrology a little bit, and I was looking around, and it made a lot of sense to me. Okay, so JFK, he's a sun sign in Gemini. He has a moon in Virgo. He has a Taurus stellium, and he has an MC in Cancer, which is interesting because for those that know a little bit about astrology, if you have what your MC is what you'll be known for, um, how the world will embrace you, know you. It's like your legacy, right? And the fact that it's in Cancer is quite interesting because Cancer rules the roots, the family, your bloodlines, and your deceased ancestors. So the fact that he's representing the Kennedys is quite remarkable for MC and Cancer. Just another way to look at it, okay? Um, his North Node was in Capricorn, which means this is kind of like what he came here a little bit to do, the lessons and the blessings a little bit. His kind of like his like North Star, so to speak. Um, but Capricorn represents the father, so there's a lot of generational father energy that it seems to be integrated through these bloodlines. I'm not sure who his father was or what type of man he was, but I've read some things, I've heard some things. So, and some of it is not very good and some of it is okay. But I do know that there was a daughter, I think, that was taken away to an asylum. I think this is JFK's sister, and he's talking about this right now.
Okay.
So he's saying that was very disappointing, and I don't know if the family agreed on that. I can't say that they all agreed.
He had a few scissors.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, one of them was like, I think, taken away, and I read that somewhere, but he's actually talking about this. He's like, we didn't.
Oh, she had a lobotomy at 23.
Yeah, I don't think the family was in agreement of this, or at least a few of them felt kind of bad about it.
Yeah.
Um, like they look back on it and like they felt it could have been handled differently.
Yeah.
But One of the things that JFK, or at least what I was picking up on as I'm getting the channeled information coming through, he was talking very specifically about Jackie. And he had genuine love for her. He says that she is the mother of my children. Um, he was talking about his son that was in the plane crash with his beautiful that girl. What was her name? She was
I
the
think it was his wife.
It was his wife. I don't
Yeah.
know her name. And
Carolyn Bessette.
oh yeah, Caroline Bessette. And
Oh, is that his daughter or is that that's his spouse? That's his spouse. Yeah.
yeah, it was his wife, I think.
Yeah, that is his wife.
And he mentioned this, and he was saying that that was an orchestrated hit. And he's saying it had something to do again with an election,
Hmm.
with a vote, with something that was coming. So, for those that are listening, you may want to do your research on this.
Well, he
I'm.
was running for a seat, I believe, in New York.
What's his name again? Is it the
It's John F.
is
Kennedy Jr.
John F. Kennedy Jr.?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure I had
Yeah,
his
he
name.
was running for a seat, I think,
When's
with New
his
York.
birthday?
November 25th.
Okay, so he was a Sagittarius. Um, I know that JFK, the way I get the message is this is very, very, very upsetting, obviously. I mean, this wasn't the time for him to go. And I think he was hoping that that was that like a breaking point, or that was like a moment where something could have shifted by getting that boy in there. I don't know what he means by this, but who was he running up against? Can you give me a name? A female, a male,
It's a female.
a female.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those that are listening, you can Google all that all you want. But anyway,
That's enough right there to find out.
just can it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anyway, JFK is saying that this is a moment in time that he's holding space for. Obviously, it was the loss of his son. It was very, very disheartening. He said that he was upset about this because something was supposed to change in that moment. That his son was supposed to, I believe, win, or he had a very good chance. So I feel that this should have gone a different way. And the way that this was handled was very deceptive. Okay. And so this is why he's here. That's why he keeps insisting talking about the elections. Now, what's interesting is I had talked about too in the past. Um, I had mentioned that there would be there was, excuse me, something about the votes. Back in the day, the mob was like huge. And I know that what they were doing is they were like trying to buy votes. They were
Yeah.
trying to say, okay, we're going to help you get these votes in,
Well, they'd
right?
use the labor unions and they would push for that too.
Right.
So the labor unions would go in and vote for a certain person.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, from what I understand, from what JFK was saying, is like that there was some stuff behind his vote and how he got in. So that was openly, genuinely admitted here. But I feel like the way the energy gets dark here is like, okay, well, we did this for you. Now you have to do this for us. And now that you're in this powerful position, you are to say yes. And JFK is like saying, it wasn't always a yes for me. I didn't agree on certain things. And so, and then he just kind of like had this sigh and he says, it was a good shot, wasn't it? So that was kind of the eerie moment in a little bit of that chat right before we did this recording. So I'm just recapping on what was said. So one of the things I want to get into is the election because he seems to want to sit in on this reading. So I'm going to allow him to just kind of like hang out. And so I want to look at the United States election. So for those that have been following me, we had episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and we're waiting on episode 4. And this is for the 2024 predictions. Now, we left off on what is happening. Like, is there going to be a United States election? And I couldn't see anything. I felt that this was a struggle. And I feel that it's very likely that we may not have a United States election, you know? So it's just sort of kind of a bummer because we all are like, we got our fingers crossed, hoping something will shift or change. So I'm going to go ahead and open. And as I'm opening with Tarot, I'm going to just allow the downloads and information to come through with Mr. JFK and see what we can get into a little bit here. I think this man was in a lot of pain. I feel really bad for him because even sitting hurt. It's kind of I don't know why I just picked up on that right now. I feel like he had pain. Do you know if he had any medical issues? Because he kind of like right now, the feeling I'm getting is he's sitting in this chair, but he's sitting a certain angle and he shifts his weight. And it's like he's got pain in his hips or his back or right into his neck. I don't know. It's just weird. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't look great. I was hoping for a different outcome, you guys, but this looks a little tough. Um, so one of the things I'm getting from him, from Mr. JFK, and I'm just looking at my spirits are here too, assisting and trying to um, kind of help usher the messages through. I will say this. Right now, we got some yucky cards. We got a lot of deception here. We got a lot of worry. We got some fears. Um, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things here that I feel could really be the highlight or some motivations to why things are being so difficult, where they may stop it and they may use an excuse because right here, front and center, um, I feel like they don't want Trump to win. Because I got the King of Swords here, and I feel like here's what's interesting. They have like a very strong, the people above, from what this man is telling me, he says they wear black suits. And they're really the ones that are controlling everything. And Mr. Trump's a Gemini, and they don't want him in. So they're going to do everything in their power to create this stigma about certain things and keep the division nice and tight, because that's exactly where they want us. And this is what upsets this man, because he's saying this is not the vision he had for the United States. And it makes him very sad and disappointed because he says, this is a beautiful country and this is why I tried. I genuinely tried my best. And I'm hoping to get one of our descendants in there. And I will move through this man to try to make sure that we can make some adjustments. Now, Mr. JFK is not saying anything about Trump. It's neither good, it's neither bad. It's just he's just not saying anything. He's just saying they just don't want him in. Period. And see, the small businesses is what he's saying are going to really struggle here. So people that own small businesses, there's going to be a struggle. And these are average middle class Americans that are just trying to make it. He's also talking about the manipulation of kind of strong arming a lot of our food and water. He's calling it, this is how I'm hearing it, strong arming our food and water. So they want to weaken this, or they want to kind of keep things not as accessible the way that, like, we're limited in choice, so we're forced by that choice, and they're forcing our hand. So he's calling it a strong arming, and he's saying he does not agree. Um, he's also saying that there will be, and he agrees, and this is why he's here. So for those that follow me on IG, listen to me, listen to my predictions, I had stated, and it's interesting because he's actually saying this, he's like, what you said is accurate. So what I feel like I'm picking up through the channeling of Mr. JFK is he's talking about the prediction I stated, that there will be 16 states, maybe to start, that will slowly break away from the United States, and they will be their own countries. Okay? Now, the governors of those states are going to protect the community in those states. And this means that their belief system, their values, from medical to their choices and so forth. It will be slow, but it will happen. The states right now that are going to be kind of under a lot of, like, I cringe when I hear this, but it's almost like he's saying that they're going to be completely segregated from these other places. And the main one he's talking about is California, and the second one is New York, where they'll turn these places into some kind of like you can't get in and it's hard to get out. And if you get in, it's really hard to get in. And if you're trying to get out, it's really hard to get out. Like, the rules and the laws that are being voted in will actually be harder and harder for people to even feel like they have like choices, but they'll be so encompassed with, oh, we're here and everything's great. And they're kind of like in the delusion that they have
Freedom.
all these freedoms, but they really don't. If this is tracking with you, great. Again, when you come in here and you listen to my podcast, okay, to Conspiracies podcast, do with the messages what you will. Don't overthink it. Don't underthink it. Just meet the messages halfway, because when I flow with this, I can't control it. Okay. So if you're highly sensitive or you're triggered, you just want to be mindful. This may not be the place for you. Okay. But you have to keep an open mind when spirit's channeling through. But this is what this man is saying. Now, he's saying that the wars over waters have begun. And he says that, in fact, I am correct again, that there will be a fights and power struggles over channels that control the commerce coming in and out of these countries, so they can get their goods, so they can get their resources. There's a lot of emphasis over Africa. Pay attention to Africa, and these channels. He's saying that he's concerned because he feels like he's going back to another nightmare of what's happening now about a nuclear attack. And that's all he'll say. He doesn't get into the details of this. He's just saying, to me, this is like part 2 of my nightmare.
He had a Cuban Missile Crisis. There was the Russian-Cuban Missile Crisis.
He says we're in trouble. Yeah, we got problems here. But he won't get into it, but he's mentioning this, okay? I don't know the history about it. I've heard something about it, but he just says, I feel like this is like part 2 of my nightmare. Let's see here.
What are you seeing?
So I really can't say some of this stuff. I'm like struggling right now. I'm like, if I say this, I'm going to try, let me word this in a way that I can kind of get away with it to some degree. It's, he just said that it's one thing to get to him the way that they did,
Yeah.
but it's a whole nother thing to get to his kids.
Yeah.
So he's very upset at what happened to his son.
Of course.
Now he's got a nephew
Uh-huh.
and he's doing everything in his power, and he's got a big team with him in the atmosphere,
Yeah.
making sure that nothing happens to that boy.
Huh.
That's his nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just kind of got this stern, very stern, he's like, it's one thing to get to me and get to but you get to the kids. No. He brings up this woman and he keeps showing me this woman's face and he does not like her.
Huh.
I am not going to say names and I'm not going to get into it. And I know exactly who it is. And I will say, here's the card. Look at this.
Yeah.
So someone under that sign, and he's just saying,
What sign might that be? Can't say it.
Scorpio.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a lady. This woman is very dark. Okay. We'll leave it at that. I do want to say, this is interesting. His son was supposed to have kids. There was a child. Do you know if this woman was pregnant?
Let me look.
They didn't say anything. I'm wondering if she was pregnant. They were married, right?
Let me look.
Either
That's
she
his
was
wife.
pregnant,
Yeah,
if
Caleb
she
Bassett
was
Kennedy.
either she was pregnant on that plane and she didn't know it yet, or like he's really just saying she was close to getting pregnant, or there's something about a pregnancy. Because think about it. If she's carrying a son, right? Like,
Yeah.
see, they're worried about, what's really interesting, you guys that are listening, I read over Bobby Kennedy's chart. Bobby Kennedy's a Scorpio. He has a Capricorn stellium. Anytime you have a Capricorn stellium, there's a direct karmic connection to the lineage of the bloodlines through a male in the family or the father. Saturn rules Capricorn. So where is the karmic damage, or where is the karma? So their positions in their life were literally all about karmic, trying to like fix things, come here to fix things. They had a place in the world. They knew their contract when they got here. These two men should not have died. They had some work to do. So what's interesting is the I didn't look at JFK's his son's chart. Actually, I didn't get a chance to look at that. But what's really freaking interesting is when I looked at RFK Jr.'s chart, I was blown away. And I'll tell you why I was blown away, because he is a Capricorn with a Cancer moon. It's like, no way. Basically, what it means is it's like sun sign Capricorn means I am representing my father. I am here to change something with the bloodlines that my father couldn't finish. It's a karmic thread. And the fact that he's got sun sign, moon sign in Cancer, it's basically speaking of his mother, but it's also speaking about the connections to his ancestors, because Cancer rules the roots, the bloodlines, connections to his ancestors. So he's a very spiritual man, very intuitive person, and he knows things, so it's just so interesting. So I know that with these elections that are supposed to be coming, could be very well stopped, because there are good there's some goodness that's supposed to come out of this for great change. But they're trying to do everything that they can to just fuck everything up before someone comes in there and really cleans it up. So, what we're literally witnessing is the complete destruction of the institution, of the government, because it's not working. But the way JFK words things is there's these men in suits that are really behind it. He calls them the men in suits.
I'm not finding anything about a child.
I think she was pregnant.
Possible.
Or she had a baby and lost a baby, something like that. Because that's what JFK is saying. I believe him. I believe the spirits, okay? No, I don't think there's going to be election. They're going to do everything to stop Trump, and they're going to do everything to stop this election. They're going to do everything they can to stop Mr. RFK Jr. They're going to do everything they can to stop it. And here's what's interesting. This woman, she's the Queen of Swords, so she could be like a Libra and Aquarius. Didn't I bring this up in another reading? A Libra, a female. Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, female.
I don't know. I don't recall.
I think Kamala's a Libra.
I can look.
There was another lady that was an Aquarius. We might have a female step in.
October 20th for Camel.
What did I say? Did I say her name right?
No.
I don't really pay much attention to her. I can't watch her talk. It's very difficult for me to watch her talk. Okay. Nothing against her. I just don't understand. Let me see. Yeah, this Capricorn has a good chance. Now, if he becomes president, is there a woman behind him? I'm talking about RFK Jr.
I don't know.
There's this lady right behind him. I wonder if that's his wife.
Maybe. Oh.
Because if he's running for presidency, they usually have to have like someone behind them that would be the vice president, right? So,
yeah. Well, his wife is Cheryl Hines. She's like an actress.
Do you know what sign she is? I'm just curious.
September 21st.
Okay. No, this is somebody different. We have, and this is going to be what's coming up, is we have someone in power, could be an air sign male. This is coming up again. So this would be like, I think Putin's a Libra. Trump's not necessarily in power. Trump's a Gemini. That's an air sign. Another air sign would be the leader from China. I think he's a Gemini too. I think the UK needs to be very careful right now. Because the way I'm hearing it from this man is he's saying the UK, we could be seeing a lot of attacks, or like those terrorist attacks. They're very vulnerable for that. Like, honestly, it would not be a place I'd want to visit the way he's wording it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this man is saying also, JFK is saying, eventually, these states in the United States are going to crack and break away from the systems eventually.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep going this way.
It's going to balkanize, basically. Yeah.
Because the people are just going to go turn their backs completely, and they're already doing it. And he's saying, what do they expect? Of course, this is what they want. They want everyone to be divided. They want people to be angry with each other. They want to influence a lot of this. That's the goal. Yeah. And they're winning. But people aren't seeing that. And this is what's really disheartening for him, because he wants to keep everybody one and united, not against each other. Because the more against each other we are, the worse the condition will get. Mm-hmm. To the point where we don't trust each other. Mm-hmm. And we begin to hate each other. And he's saying this is the exact thing. If you look at the Constitution, if you look at everything in there, you look at the things of my speeches and the things that I talked about, it has nothing, what's going on, absolutely nothing to do with what we represent. And the fact that it has come to this point, this is the breaking point. You're watching the complete collapse of the money, the systems, the government, where the people will turn on them and move in their own direction and find someone in charge of that community and that group and that state
Yeah.
and make it as difficult as possible for people to get in. And the ones that are in can travel, but there will be all these new laws and regulations that if you come in, you have to be like kind of like one of them,
Right.
right? No different than how we see Europe and how Europe is split in
You'll have
these.
tribes in a
Yeah, like,
sense.
right. Like Europe is like they're different countries, but imagine looking at the map of the United States and just looking at Texas. Texas will be its own country. Um, Florida, right? So if you don't like where you live and you don't like what's going on around you, you better get your bags and get out because you'll be stuck there and you will be obligated to fall into those laws. And no matter how many times you decide you're going to vote for it to go away, it won't. And then what you want, it's going to end up costing you money. So you'll be trapped there because you'll feel like you're just paying Peter to pay Paul and God only knows what. Because they're going to charge you for everything. They're going to charge you for the air. Here's another twist. He's saying travel won't be the same anymore because they're going to make it so difficult to get oil, or they'll use the war as like an excuse because it's coming. And that they want us to lean into or be where we can't have like, they want to control the cars. They don't want us to have gasoline. They want to be able to shut our cars off when they want us to when they want the cars to shut down. So it's like, and then that means that travel by car, travel by train, travel by air, it's going to be harder and harder and harder. The one of the things that is very concerning for this man is he's also speaking about the lack of consideration and compassion for the children and the way they're handling children, from the rules and even medically, that if you don't do this thing for your child, then you're considered this way, or if you don't choose to go this way for your child, or you don't choose to take your child and do A, B, C, and D, even medically, that's, to him, he's using the word, that's tyranny, that's inhumane. So he's got some pretty strong opinions, and that he is hoping through his nephew that there's a chance for them to make this adjustment. Because his nephew, actually, to be quite honest, from what I'm hearing from this man, is genuinely ready to fix some things and genuinely concerned. I do feel that there's some weather stuff behind this man, or like, I don't know what it, like, not weather stuff. I don't think it's quite like a climate change thing. Like, I
He's
think
very
he,
green, so
yeah,
he's been like on a charge for that for a long time to push for more green initiatives. I know that.
crazy.
Very environmental. I can't even
Oh,
speak. Environmental friendly.
well, he's, and here's the thing. If, just let's just all be real for those that are listening. I mean, think about this, and I'm going to cuss a little bit because it makes me hot when I go into the store. You walk into the store and they put all the cereals in the front, and I have a child, so I can, and they just grab things. They think, oh, this is great. It's full of freaking cancer and just all kinds of chemicals and stuff when we're feeding this to our children. Um, and if you just turn the fucking box over and look and just type in the chemicals that are in those ingredients. You know, they don't advertise that on the front of the box. So they're making consumers believe that this is healthy when it's absolutely complete garbage and trash. And think about that when you're popping a pill. Think about that when you're injecting yourself with something. Okay? Think about that. An informed choice gives you the opportunity to make a choice of whatever you want. And I don't care what you guys eat or what you're injecting yourself with or what you're doing out there, those are listening. It's not cool. You can't just like blind people. So this is why it's great to be educated. And I do believe that this man, from according to what JFK is telling me, is he's going to educate people and bring awareness so you can feel like you have the freedom to choose versus being in this narrow path and you just are forced to do something, or you have to be this way, or you have to do this to your children, or you have to put them in that school, or they have to learn this one thing, or they have to believe this one thing. No. And this is what's upsetting him. So it's like, where do you draw the line a little bit? Because you got to go back to being humane. And being humane means giving the people the truth and giving them the right information so they have the freedom to choose. The freedom to choose, right? So, and then he leads me back to the voting, and he's like, how is that a vote if you got people that are um either the votes are bought, literally bought, or the votes are being manipulated. And there has to be a whole new system with the way things are being done. Like they need social security numbers, and they have so much technology, like you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Like they can scan your eye to make sure that's who it is.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that. He's saying with the technology that they have, this is absolutely horrific. Now, he's saying this with the karmic comment in a way, saying, yes, I became the president of the United States because I had some help. There was money. But I felt that that was my genuine opportunity to go, I think now that I'm in this position, I have to do something.
Yeah.
He became a father. So he started looking through like
A different glass, like a different lens.
he
Different
started
lens.
looking at like, my God, I have to do something. So he kind of changed his tune a little bit once he got into these positions. And he's saying, I I'm not, he's saying my choices were intentional. Yes. But he got thrown into this, so it happened so quickly that he didn't really have a lot of time to like, he say it became bigger than he could hold. And once he was in that seat, he's like, holy smokes, like this is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am responsible. So because he's deceased, he's saying, I'm sitting in this chair with you today and I'm talking about these things today because karmically I can make a difference. And this is the visions that I had at the top of the year of these two men in the White House. The spirits were showing me this because they wanted me to talk about this. And the thing is, when I mention the name JFK, they can hear in heaven. There's like windows in heaven. They can hear all this in heaven. They know when energetically when someone's talking about them. So I do believe that there is a reason why we're here today, and I'm talking about this and why I've been led to speak on this and why I have this gold coin in front of me. I kept seeing him and I'm like, why do I feel this man around a lot? And because I felt it was divinely orchestrated for us to have this chat today. Now, there's certain names that I cannot say. I can't just drop a bunch of stuff here on this podcast because it's just, you do with the messages what you will. Google research, do with the messages what you will. But I'm having trouble believing that there is going to be an election. I feel like that they may stop this, or they may use an excuse to stop this. Right now, the United States literally our destiny and our fate literally is in God's hands. We are free falling at this moment. There's no babysitter, there's nobody watching us. This is like an absolute shit show. This is why we got the spirit of JFK, Bobby Kennedy, their souls are on the other side watching. That's why they're pushing this man forward to just hope that something could change. Something, anything. But it all is dependent upon this vote, and this is why he felt this urgency to sit in on this today. But right now, fate and destiny, it's literally in God's hands. Literally. Um, there's so much motivation by greed, money, and power that it could actually try to intercept this to the degree where they could get away with it. But let me tell you this is what he's saying to me now. They might get away with it now, but they won't get away with it for long. So, this is a message of hope. This is a message for those that are listening to not give up. This is a message to stand your ground. This is a message to go and move to the areas that feel most in alignment with your belief systems, who you are, your values. If they're not resonating with you where you live, you better go. Be careful in states like California. Be careful in the state of New York. Those choices are on you guys, and do with the messages what you will. But we are breaking away from the systems, and that means that the states themselves will break away eventually. And it will happen, and you will see a change. Even in travel, get harder and harder to travel because they're going to create all these laws. And some people just won't even be able to see it, and some people are really seeing it. So for those that aren't seeing it, you better keep your peepers open, because I would say from what he's telling me right now, by 2027, we are looking at a whole different United States. And it will be more real than you can ever imagine. So you want to start planning and leaning into the things that matter and that are important to you. But there's still hope, is what he's saying, that we're not a victim of this, that we can create some change, but it's going to take people to listen, to hear. You can't be afraid to not be able to talk. Everyone's so, that's what he's saying right here. This is why he wanted to sit on this today. He goes, I appreciate your bravery and your courage to sit in on this and be able to be open and frank and talk. But not only that, he's saying to hold space for all people, all walks of life, no matter who they voted for, no matter what they did, because that's the whole goal. And get them to see. And for those that choose not to see and just choose to react and just hate on somebody because of this, that, and the other thing, that's exactly what they want. Don't let them get away with it. But you know where you fit in and you know where you belong. So find your tribe, find your people, find your path. But he's saying there still is a good chance for hope. But from what I can see here, I don't quite see the election. I think that this is literally, like he's saying, this is in God's hands. They're doing their best to try to help and assist to change some things. We have a lot of empty suits in the White House, and we have a lot of puppeteering going on. So who you see on TV that are doing public speaking, that's not them. There's something else or someone else behind them. Okay. So we need a full suit. We need someone in the suit and being completely present. So if this doesn't happen, Mr. JFK is saying the people are going to turn away from it and they're going to go in their own direction. And that's what I got for today's Conspiracies podcast. Again, do with the messages what you will. And I'm really appreciating, I'm going to burn some sage, but it was really nice working with the gentleman. If I get any more information from him, because I kind of feel like he still wants to keep going, maybe we can cut this right now and then do like a part 2. I do feel like he wants to keep talking. Let's just cut it right now and then we'll do part 2.